This is Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans with me, Cheryl Burke, an iHeartRadio podcast. My next guest is a living legend in his own right who is a very well-known comedian, podcast host, actor, and author. He gained fame as a co-host alongside Dr. Drew of the radio and television show Loveline and became a prominent figure in the podcasting world, being in the Guinness Book of World Records with the highest number of downloads for his podcasts, where he often touches on controversial subjects. My next guest is known for his candid and unfiltered approach and proved all of that during season 6 when performing his Paso Doble with his partner Julianne Hough as his grand entrance goes down in history when he rode in on his unicycle. He did that with his Latin Cuban heels tied on tightly, his Paso Doble cape tied around his neck with a Zorro mask over his eyes, and let's not forget, he also sported that memorable mustache on his face. I mean, if you don't know who I'm talking about yet, then shame on you. But in all seriousness, please welcome Adam Carolla to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans. It's been a long time since we've seen each other. Season 6 was in 2008. Is that correct?
I don't know what season I did.
6.
Oh, 6.
Yes.
But 2008 sounds about right.
Wow. Okay, first off, why do you think comedians find it hard to ballroom dance?
Comedians in general aren't good at other things other than comedy.
Okay.
So they were never the jocks in high school. They're not welders. They don't fix transmissions. Almost every comedian I know just goes like, oh, my car won't start. And I'll go pop the hood and they'll go, why? And I'll go, well, I don't know, maybe the battery's dead. I don't even know what that is.
Right.
Like they work as, bartenders and waiters and stuff like that. And then they get into comedy and they become comedians. But as a group, they do not possess other skills.
Got it.
Whereas other professions, many people have other skills, their hobbies or something like that, trades. None of them worked in the trades. None of them played football in high school. Like it's very rare that comedians possess other skills.
But you do.
Yeah, I started off as kind of a jock, and then I turned into a carpenter, and then I just drove a truck, and I just worked, and then comedy sort of came later. But by the time I found comedy, by the time I was able to make a living doing comedy, I had been a boxing coach and a carpenter, and had all sorts of other jobs, sort of manual kind of blue collar stuff.
Yeah.
And I did it for, my situation wasn't like a lot of comedians or a lot of people, they'll go like, oh, I used to work with my uncle's construction firm, during the summer when I was going to Dartmouth or something. And I go, yeah, but I didn't go to college. I just worked full time as a carpenter.
You never went to college?
Yeah.
Same. Never went to college. Who knew? Ballroom dancing was going to make primetime TV.
Yeah.
So speaking of, how long did you know prior to Dancing with the Stars? So did you meet, how did this whole thing lead up to you walking into the rehearsal space?
I got a call from my agent after doing a morning show shift, which I was taking over for Howard Stern out on the West Coast and some other markets as well. And I just got the call and I just sort of said, yeah, all right. And I didn't ask any questions, or I didn't lobby for working with this person or that person. Or
have you seen the show before?
I'd seen the show. Yeah. My recollection, the show is pretty ubiquitous. You had to have seen it, Did I watch it and, tune in every week? Probably not, but I probably watched it enough. Like I definitely knew what it was, and I'd seen it, and I was frightened, but I had no conditions. I was just like, when do we start? And they're like, 2 weeks or something. And I was like, okay.
Did anyone in your team or family, friends, your circle of people say, do not do the show?
No, I've never had that kind of relationship with family members or team members or any members.
Right, they don't tell you what to do.
Well, it's not that my immediate family doesn't really know what I do, so they don't really be neither here nor there to them. I mean, I don't think they would watch it anyway.
Okay.
So they were nice enough, but just not really into stuff I was doing.
Okay.
So nobody in my inner immediate circle would have
had an opinion
about it.
Right.
Now. So,
right.
But I wouldn't have asked, and they wouldn't have had one. So.
Well, that's not. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people give their opinion regardless, but you seem to have a great, solid group of people around you that that doesn't need to do that.
The only person in my life that ever would be like, "Don't do this," or "You shouldn't do that," or "Why are you saying this," or "doing that," or something would be Jimmy Kimmel.
And he was in the audience supporting you.
Yeah, and he was the show that everyone went to when they got booted,
Yes.
so he could hardly be the one to tell me
right.
not to do it since he was so involved.
Oh,
with
very
it,
involved, yes.
So, no, nobody said
but
anything.
But he never said anything. He just said, you know what, power to ABC, more power.
Yeah, like I said, he's got a lot of hot takes about what I should be doing and shouldn't be doing, and he's mostly right.
Right.
Because my thing is I don't really have, I shouldn't say a filter, but like if someone goes, "Oh, why don't you do this person's show or that person's show or whatever?" I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, easygoing. Ish.
In the sense that I'm not that important, if you're nice enough to ask for me to come on your show, then I would do it. Like if someone I've never heard of said, "Could you call this guy's radio show in Spokane tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.?" I'd go,
nice.
Yeah, okay.
You're not one to like, how many downloads does this person have? You're like, no, that's good.
It's just talking. And I used to work, I used to work on roofs and bust out stucco and stuff. Like I worked, and so I never looked at show business as work per se, So like even now I'll go out and they'll go, "Oh, the 2 Naples shows are sold out on Friday," when I had a 3rd show, and I'll go, "Yeah, okay." And then someone will go, 3 shows in one day, and I'll go, "It's just talking."
Do you think that's your secret to success because you're not so result oriented?
I don't know that I have a secret,
no secret.
to
I get
success,
it. Yes,
and I don't even know what success is. Exactly. It's hard to define.
Right.
Myself.
You're still working. That's success.
I work a lot, and I've always worked. And I mean, I was thinking about it. It's like I'm coming up on 30 years in comedy, and I've never missed a day. I mean,
wow.
I'm not the most motivated person, but it's a business that's, here today and gone tomorrow. And there's a lot of people you can't remember from 10 years ago who were doing pretty good. And I just brought a kind of blue collar kind of work ethic to it. Just get up, put your boots on, go to work.
Right.
And that's what I think of
and
comedy.
Show up. Yep.
Yeah, I just did 4 shows in Phoenix over the weekend. And then when I got home Sunday, Southwest Burbank Airport, I had 2 shows in San Diego last night. And I just got home, took a nap, cleaned myself up a little, got in the car, drove to San Diego, and got home at 1:30 in the morning last night.
So Dancing with the Stars is scheduled. What was pitched to you versus what was reality?
I don't remember what the pitch schedule was.
Right.
I remember going, well, how many hours a day do we got to go? And I'm pretty busy and I'm working full time and so on and so forth.
Do you have days off?
Yeah, I was pretty busy. And so I just sort of said to Julianne, we'll do 2 hours a day, and however far we get on 2 hours a day, that's what we'll do. And so that's kind of how it worked for me.
What was your first impression of Miss Julianne Hough when you walked in through the door? Did you know it was going to be her? Did you know her?
I didn't know her. Obviously, she's very beautiful, and she was perky, and and she'd won, the year before, whatever that was.
Elio, I think, was it Elio Castronez?
Yeah, Elio Castronez.
Or Apollo Anton Ono, one of the two.
Yeah, I don't. I think Elio was the one that went next. But anyway, she's beautiful, and she was fun and kind of nice, and I sort of thought of her as a kid,
Right.
And I guess she kind of was a kid back then. And I was like, oh, good. I got the one who won the year before,
Yeah.
and she was nice and all that. So I was like, okay. And we just started off.
And how was your communication? Was it like when she was teaching you? Because like, look, yes, you've played football, and I think that you probably would be a dream to coach because you could tell that you are also a good student, since you've been kind of around that.
Yes. I wasn't a good student in high school, but
no,
I
not
could,
maybe book smart, right?
No, not book smart, but you could teach me things.
Right.
I mean, if you told me like, look, walk down the street 100 yards, go left, go another 100 yards, then go right. It'll be the building on the third building on the left. I would just go and do it.
Right.
I could always, because all football was that, which I did for a long time. And then after that, that's all carpentry was. It was just being taught. It wasn't, I became a carpenter and I never read a book on carpentry and I never saw a video on carpentry. It was just some dude named Russ and they told you what to do. And you knew what a tech screw was, or a sheet metal screw, or a coarse thread bugle head drywall screw, and they
what the hell?
They just keep going and going. And I mean, the thing about carpentry is it's like, first thing you have to learn is like, what's the difference between a pony wall? What's a king stud? What's a jack stud? What's a header? What's a bottom plate? What's a top plate? What's the difference between a joist and a rafter?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, and so because you can't do carpentry if you're like, what's the thingy over there? It's like
same thing with dance, a cha-cha.
Yeah.
Like, what's a cha-cha lock and a fan and an alemana versus a New Yorker?
Now I'm confused. But,
yeah, that's what you sounded like to me just
But
now.
I learned everything, and it was because someone told me.
Right.
And so I just got used to listening to people who knew what they were doing.
Right.
And I would listen to them.
Did you guys was there any room for, because you said you only rehearsed 2 hours, right? Which is, I think, probably the world record for the least amount of rehearsal and still being able to I'm not saying this in a weird way, but it's like you were able to execute actually really good dances for what you were giving as far as hours go. Because back in the day, we used to not have limits, right? So we used to be able to, we want to book this studio. Now they have Dancing with the Stars studio. So everyone's under one roof. Hence why they also can only limit each couple for 4 hours. But back then, we used to go to studios in LA.
Yes.
And they'd rent it from like 10 to 6.
Yeah, right.
But you were very clear that you only, because you had another job. How did you retain this information? You must have rehearsed in your head.
Julianne, I think...
Did we have cell phones back then? I'm kidding.
No, I mean, not with cameras and stuff, but I think here's what happened. I had like a little recording device, or Julianne got it for me or something, and it was like a little video, something. I probably don't make it. We don't need them anymore.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And I would film doing the dance, and then I could, when I had some downtime or off time or whatever, I could look at it and kind of go, all right, left foot first, and then follow with this, and then go that, and that's kind of
you
what
were like
I did.
Emmett Smith when he would just actually rehearse like that, because that's where I feel like that's where the foundation lies. Because without that, how do you work on anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. One is I am a quick study. If you tell me, I've done some car racing, and if I get into a car and I've never been in it before, and you kind of say it's a sequential shifter and it's 1 up and it's 4 down or whatever, and you do this, and here's where that is, I'll know it in a couple of minutes, and then I can go race the car like in a real race. Like I'll be fine with it. I catch on fast, and I sort of download fast.
Okay.
I don't really get much better. I have this weird thing where I'm real good at stuff fast, but I don't get better much past the first day. In a weird
so you don't improve
way. Not
to yourself.
Well, my sort of way I do things is I will learn something like someone else took a week to do it. I'll do it in a day.
Wow.
And then you would assume that then when a week goes by, I'll be so much better. But I only improve like 10% after the first day. I get it fast. I mean, the first time.
So your first dance was a foxtrot.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
Yes.
And what was your feeling? So like, did you ever? I don't think you ever forgot your choreography because I can tell by just watching what I watched when during your time. But what was it like? Right before, you hear the click, click, click before the music starts.
Yeah.
What was the feeling going through your body?
I had a thought. I remember being in the makeup trailer or something like that. I had a few. I had a little time before it was time to dance, and I remember going, all right, I should kind of go over this in my head a little bit here. And I kind of stood in this space and I went, all right, let's see, click, click, click. And I like stepped forward with my right foot and then I pulled it back and I went, wait a minute, was it the right foot or the left foot? And then I went, oh my God, that's the first step. That's the first step. You're not sure one step into this dance, which foot you step out with. And I remember kind of thinking at that point, like, oh man, that's an eerie harbinger. That's not a good sign. I was like, oh.
Is it like the yips?
Yeah, it's like the yips in baseball.
Okay.
And if that's what you're referring to.
What's the yips? Yeah, I'm only saying that because I heard you say this just recently, but yeah.
The yips in baseball happened to one or two players. I can't remember who it was. It was a famous Dodger, I think, second baseman. And he, one day after playing, his entire life, because, you don't get into the Major League Baseball unless you start playing when you're 5,
Right.
And he's 5 years into the league or whatever, and like a ground ball gets hit to him, and he does this kind of double clutch and like bounces it to the first baseman, who was like 15 feet away. And then the next time he did it again, and it's called the yips. It's like when you're in your head.
It's the worst.
And you're not able to do something you've been doing your whole life or that comes naturally or whatever. You went all the way through high school and college and semi-pro and whatever. Now all of a sudden, he's 8 years in the league and he's bouncing the ball to the first base and he's in his head.
So bad. I know that feeling.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Is that what happened to you for the premiere?
The premiere was, I got the yips in the trailer, but then when it came time to just sort of be on the dance floor, I just went, well, the music's going to fire up and you're just going to do what you're going to do. And I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out, but you're going to do what you're going to do. And I did so much like boxing and football and stand up and stuff that
it's all routines, right?
I kind of knew. I never been worried about the lights and the stage and the moment being like too big or too exhausting or too devastating emotionally. I was always like, I used to play colleges with Dr. Drew like way back in the day.
I love that guy.
We'd play venues that were 5,000 seat venues, and I'd be standing backstage like just going, when are we starting? And I didn't have any feelings about it, and I'd just walk out there like, and it just didn't feel like anything to me. And I've been that way most of my time. So
even with 18 million or whatever, because it was the ratings back then were definitely different than now. Obviously, TV's changed, but it was multiple millions of people at least, at least 20. I think is something I read.
Yeah. No, I had no thoughts about it.
So you didn't feel any nervousness. You were just like, you know what? I'm just going to let my muscle memory take over.
I felt energy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, well, this is an average Wednesday night. I understood what it was.
Yeah.
And I understood that there's no way you could be in this environment and not feel,
of course,
something, But that's kind of where it ended. Yeah. I didn't think about people home watching or how many people were watching, and I didn't get the yips, and I felt like I always felt sort of I was a bad student, and if you would have asked me, when I was 12, Adam, come up to the chalkboard. Let's see how your spelling is. I would have been like, oh, God, no, please, dear God, no, But when it came to anything physical, I was always just kind of like, yeah, let's do it,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I felt. And I didn't feel like I was a good dancer. I just felt like it's something physical, and I could do this.
Did the judges, okay, so back then, the judges were pretty harsh. And actually, I'm doing these rewatches on the podcast, and I started from like all the way back to season 1, and they were even worse then. Did you get affected mentally by how their comments sometimes weren't of constructive criticism?
No, I was like, but I was covered because I was under no illusion I was a good dancer,
right,
or even an experienced dancer, or any competency at all in it. So I was sort of like, a supermodel who had to drive in a go-kart race. I was like, no one expects Claudia Schiffer to win this race, right? I mean, she's barely. And so it was like I had no pressure,
right,
because I was a comedian from the Man Show, that just wasn't the burden of.
So your ego wasn't in the way.
Yeah, like for instance, I've done the Toyota Celebrity Grand Prix like 5 times, and I've won 2 times.
So
and
fun.
when I did that, I was like, you are capable of winning this goddamn race. Let's hope you do. But there's 20 other people who want to do it too,
Right.
And the last race I did, I was in first place for a minute. Then I wasn't. Then the little incident, a couple incidents happened, and I came in 4th. I was goddamn miserable about it and still am.
Oh.
And it's been 10 years. And the reason I was miserable about it is because I'd won it twice, and I knew I had the ability to do it, to be better. And I didn't finish how I wanted to finish, but I knew that I was capable of it.
Because you had done it.
Yeah, everyone else who was in it had also won themselves, so it was kind of an all-star cast, so it was a lot of pros and stuff. So it was, my work was cut out for me, but I still should have done better, and I didn't, and I kind of beat myself up on it a bit.
And you're still upset after 10 years.
If you were to ask me what is a negative thought that I put in my head and I sort of look back on, it was definitely the All-Star Celebrity Pro Grand Prix.
And that's just the self-talk, obviously, you mean. Because, like, no one else probably thinks that you could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're not thinking about it. I was just beating.
Yeah, you're beating yourself up, as we all do.
Yeah. I was just beating myself up.
Did you ever do that on Dancing with the Stars? No, because there was no, like, it's not like you had the mirror ball in your hand.
Yeah,
prior.
no, I never did that because I was like, I'll be happy if I make it through my first dance,
Okay, so did you call Carrie a bitch?
I did. And I forgot I did it. And I was
on live television?
Yeah, and they told me I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I didn't
even see you do that.
I didn't say it. And they were like, yeah, you said it. And I was like, I did?
Out loud?
Yeah.
Or was it a reaction from like a 5 and you're like, bitch?
No, I called her a bitch.
Wow.
And I didn't have a recollection of it.
They didn't bleep you?
No, I don't believe they did. But I can't.
That's amazing. Because I was watching the second week and I was like, she was referring to that. And I was like, wait, what? And I didn't even see that at all. Anyway, it's interesting that they paired you with someone like Julianne. Because back then, she was very, she was like that girl next door, She came from, she was definitely, you kept harping on her about the whole Mormon thing with Samantha Harris back in the day in the Red Room.
Huh?
I was crying laughing. I think we all were behind you guys. But those were those moments. I always say, this is the order of importance, I think, on Dancing with the Stars. It's never the dance. I think first it is the package that they air. because people do vote and people want to be a part of that journey with you. And this is why the most talented dancer, I believe, never wins. Because it's like, this is why Emmett Smith won versus Mario Lopez, because you're not supposed to have any dance experience, right? Like, and if you do, great. You just get from a great dancer to a great dancer. But like with Emmett, he was, it's always the underdog. And I believe after the package comes that interview with Samantha Harris. And I think that, for me, watching it back, it's like, wow, I really got a chance to see you as well as a person. And I see why your time, you lasted pretty long compared to most people with no dance. You were about halfway through.
I think I did 4 dances and then I did the dance of the night thing, which is weird because I got booted. No, they used to. I don't know if they still do. They'd go, our favorite dance from last week or whatever it was.
Oh, because we had result shows back then. There's no more result shows.
Oh, okay. So I was like,
and then you got the boot.
Yeah, I said it has to be rare. You would know. I wouldn't, but
they've done that before.
I remember thinking it's got to be few and far between where you get the dance of the night and the boot for that dance.
Well, let's just be real. I'm no longer on the show, but like they knew already you got the boot, but they still voted. The judges voted for you to have that dance.
Does it happen often?
Well, that dance, first of all, that never hasn't happened since over a decade because we don't have result shows.
Oh, I see.
But that has happened once, I think with Pamela Anderson. I'm pretty sure. But, your dance was freaking entertaining. We're talking about when you basically did the Paso Doble and there you go, like on your unicycle.
Yeah.
You do that huge reveal and then you seamlessly, I'm not even joking, transition from the unicycle to doing chasse capes and twist turns. And no one said anything. Like, meaning like the judges were just harping on you for whatever. No, that is hard.
I remember, maybe it was Len, God rest his soul. I can't remember or who it was. But I remember, it was funny, they must not possess unicycles in England because they're like, you were on the bike with the one wheel. And like, they didn't
He said
know.
that?
Somebody said something.
Maybe Bruno.
Maybe it was Bruno. Yeah, they didn't seem impressed. I was like,
definitely not.
I was like, hey, riding unicycle is something, and it was hard in that environment because.
But you're in a ballroom, for God's sakes.
I was not. I rode the unicycle when I was a kid, but I hadn't been on one in a while, so I had to kind of tune myself up a little bit.
Right, muscle memory.
The reason that was a little bit hard for me, as I recall, is. Dance shoes are smooth leather on the bottom, and they're not good. They're not good for unicycling. No. Your foot will slide off the pedal.
Right.
But I needed to wear the dance shoes to do the dance. But unicycle shoes, like running shoes, are the best. They're something with some grip and some tread. For the unicycles.
I didn't even think about that.
So I do.
You had your Latin Cuban heels on too.
I had my heels on,
Oh
so I was like. This is going to be tough to ride this unit because your foot's going to slip off that pedal and it's not going to be good. So I do have a recollection of going, you should work this out. Like, don't just practice in your tennis shoes, get your dance shoes on and get on that unicycle and get the feel for it. And I think I even took like some black grip tape and wrapped it around the pedal so I could just get a little bite. I could feel it a little better. And then I also remember that I was going to be off in the wings and I was going to have to launch from the dark, where it was dark where I was.
That tunnel.
I needed it dark where I took off from. And also, things you don't think about before you ride a unicycle and Dance with the Stars, the stage is built on a slab and it's raised like 3 inches. And there's a little ramp, there's a little rubber thing, so you don't trip on it or whatever. But I had to launch from the slab. So I knew my first thing was going to be getting up this hump onto the stage. And I was like, you could eat shit right as you're entering the stage because you're not on the stage. Right. I started off the stage.
Right. Yeah, from like downstage left or right.
Yeah, if you were facing the audience, it'd be the right corner, right down. And so also, other weird little unicycle things.
Fascinating.
I was used to sort of hopping up and getting up on my unicycle, but I didn't do a lot of starting from being up. And because of the way the thing was timed out.
And your cape around your neck.
The cape, the mask was a little weird because your peripheral vision's a little screwed up in the cape. But I started up on the unicycle and I was holding on to a camera rig. I was holding on to like a
the steady
jib.
cam.
Yeah, I was hanging onto the crane. And so I was like up and I was on it and I was kind of my feet under me and I was on the unicycle and I was hanging on with my arm to the crane.
Oh.
In the dark, though, in the black.
Right.
You know, it's
right.
supposed to be dark back there. You don't want to see the crane, right?
Right,
so
right.
I was back in the dark and I knew I was going to take like 3 or 4 pedals and then I was going to make it up that hump onto the stage, up this weird rubber ramp thing,
yes,
you know?
Yes.
It's the kind of thing they would use if they're running cords through something. They put something over it. It's like a little ramp, speed bump, you know? But I was like, I'm going to take off in these dance shoes in the dark and I'm going to hit that speed bump. And there's a chance I may not make it onto the stage on the unicycle, you know?
It was a grand entrance, Adam.
Once I made it onto the stage, I was like, all right, now I'm off and running. And
I mean, you obviously did dress rehearsal and you did camera blocking, doing that same thing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember going, look, I should wear the mask and get used to holding the cape out and kind of get used to the cape and the mask and the stuff because it's all effects things.
And no one said a thing. It's so disappointing. That shit is so. It is so hard. The judges didn't say anything. That is hard.
Yeah, I remember kind of at the time. I haven't thought about it in a while, but I remember at the time going, yeah, no one said like, hey, nice job on the unicycle or something. They just kind of went like, Boy, I would say the celebrity.
Hardest dance you did?
I don't know the names of them.
That's okay. Favorite judge?
Oh, well, since he's gone, we'll go with Len.
Least favorite judge?
Carrie.
Comedian dance-off. Who would win? You or Jeffrey Ross?
I would win Jeff Ross, but that's not saying much.
Nikki Glaser versus your favorite DL Hughley.
Oh, I hadn't seen either one of them dance, but I'll go with Nikki. Women are more.
Chris Kattan versus Andy Dick.
Oh, Chris. Andy's high as a kite.
Matt Walsh versus Drew Carey.
Oh, Drew's lost a lot of weight. We'll go with Drew.
One word that describes some of your fellow Dancing with the Stars co-stars. Tom Bergeron.
Decent. He's a good man.
Samantha Harris.
Fine. I didn't really spend a lot of time with her.
Len Goodman.
Good.
Carrie Ann. Go ahead.
I didn't have a beef with any. You know, I knew what the job was. They knew what the job was. I get it.
Bruno Tonioli.
Gay.
Priscilla Presley.
Gayer.
Stop it. Jason Taylor.
Tall.
So freaking tall. Christy Yamaguchi.
Fierce.
Shannon Elizabeth.
Fine.
Christian De La Fuente.
Hot.
Steve Guttenberg. Remember that, man?
The Goot. Yeah. Affable.
Do you remember when he used to spend the night this is back in the day before rules. He used to spend the night at the dance studio because he would rehearse so many hours. Anya Trebunskaya, his partner, would just leave him there.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought that's why you made a joke about him during the live show when you were standing there next to Tom. I thought that was what you were referencing, but now I don't think.
Maybe I was.
He would sleep there.
He had a barbecue at his house and invited everyone over, and I remember that.
Okay. Marlee Matlin.
Oh, well, Marlee Matlin's interpreter's a dude, and I don't like it. You got to get a female. She has a female voice. She's like, I fell in love with the dance. I fell in love with the dance. You know, it's no good.
Penn Jillette.
Big, smart.
Monica Seles.
Depressed.
Last one, Marissa Jarrett Winokur.
Oh, I got a story for her.
God, go ahead.
I got off stage and she was a ball of nerves. Like she was a bundle of nerves. And I got off stage, and I could tell she was just in a bad way, super nervous about dancing. And so she was there, and people come up to people when they're super nervous or whatever. They go, "Hey, man, have fun out there. Come on, you got to have fun." And it's like, I'm not going to have fun. I want to throw up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm freaking out about now. I'm having an anxiety attack. I have fun out there. You know what I mean? So I walked up to her because I see she was like struggling, and I thought, let's see if you can bring some wisdom to this, And I thought, I'm not going to be one of those have fun out there, or don't listen to anybody, or pretend everyone's in their underpants, or don't be nervous or something. None of that works. So I walked up to her and I go, and Penn Jillette was standing there. He was trying to help too. He's the tallest, she's the shortest, and I just go, look, you're not going to have fun out there, but you know what you're going to have? You're going to have an experience. You're going to have experience that you couldn't trade for anything. It's such a crazy experience and fun. Yeah, you got fun. Go see a movie. You know what I mean? Go play lawn darts. Have fun. But that's not going to be fun. This is an experience you can't buy. This is incredible. And I said, childbirth, having a child, is it fun? No. Would you miss it for the world? It's experience. I was like, that's what this is. This is childbirth. It's the most important experience you're ever going to have. And she goes, I just had ovarian cancer and I can't have kids.
Oh, no.
And Penn Jillette started laughing like the insane atheist he is. Penn Jillette's like, whoa, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I was just like, what? Oh, I guarantee if you look her up, she had some sort of cancer, something, and she survived, but she can't have kids. And Penn Jillette started screaming with laughter. He loved it.
I can't. Okay, 2 fan questions before I die. At the James Bennett, have you gotten fewer career opportunities since you got more vocal about your political views, Adam?
It never helps to be too vocal in Hollywood, but I've never based anything on career opportunities. My job is speak, make jokes, say what I want.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm here.
And 2 hours of dance. At Miss Sunny Gal, what was your mindset going into dancing? Was it fun or was it something for you to prove? Last one.
It was like not a lot of fun because I was, like I said, I was getting up at 5 every morning and going to work. Yeah. It was made for a long day. Yeah. But it was a real experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I didn't feel like I had anything to prove other than I wanted to know that I did the best that I could do, which was not that good, but it was still the best I could do. I didn't want to like screw the pooch. I would have been, if I popped up on the stage and did a Brody on the unicycle and fell off, I'd be pissed.
Totally.
And I'd be disappointed. And I'd be like, come on, man, you can ride a unicycle. Why'd you fall off? It's easy to fall off a unicycle, but I felt like I'm good enough to ride this unicycle. And
transition into chasse capes.
The transition.
God
the fact
damn
that
it.
you brought that up.
Come on, I give you a TED.
Puts a smile on my face.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you guys follow us at Sex, Lies, and Spray Tans on our Instagram handle, and make sure you comment. Let me know who you want me to interview. What do y'all think? Let me know.